Between the two of them, Washington and Jefferson had a complete set of teeth. Washington only had one, Jefferson only ever lost one, and he lived to be quite old. These days, tooth decay is largely a solved problem. If Virginians are going to lose their teeth, it will be periodontal disease or rugby. I'm Professor Mark Hinders, Applied Science Department at William & Mary. I'm here in the Makerspace back room in the NDE lab, and I want to talk to you about gum disease and machine learning. If you floss your teeth, they look like this. If you don't floss your teeth, they look like this. What's going on in periodontal disease is the naturally occurring bacterial plaque under the gum line attacks the ligaments that hold the teeth in place. Flossing disrupts this process and keeps your gums healthy. If you don't floss or have bad dental hygiene in general, what will happen is the attachment level of the ligament will be reduced, you'll form periodontal pockets, eventually the bone will erode and you'll lose your teeth. The way this is detected clinically right now is with a little pokey thing, which I have to say kind of grosses me out when I see it up close and in color. What we've been developing is a non-invasive, painless way to diagnose periodontal disease using medical ultrasound. The handpiece looks about like this, and what's going on is inside of there is an ultrasound transducer at about 10 or 15 or 20 megahertz. And a little burst of ultrasound is emitted by the transducer. It travels down inside a hollow tip with a little water inside there for coupling. That probe is just touched to the gum line. The ultrasound projects into the tissues and reflects back from the anatomy underneath there. The machine learning part of it is analyzing those complicated echoes in order to pick out the very subtle features that are due to the reflection from the crest of the periodontal ligament. Time delay tells us distance, so in this context, the time delay between the echoes from the gum line and the crest of the periodontal ligament will give us the pocket depth. Totally painless, just like medical ultrasound is. Again, medical ultrasound is so safe, it's what we use on pregnant women. So we got started on this some years ago. There was apparently a sailor on a ballistic missile submarine who came down with some periodontal disease issue, and it must have been life-threatening because they had to service the boat and take the kid off on a helicopter. And so the Navy decided that it was mission critical for them to have a better way to screen everyone for gum disease before they went out on their 6-month mission. For some reason, the folks at the Naval Dental School got in contact with the people I've been working with at the NASA Langley Research Center in Hampton. And many of the people there in the Non-Destructive Evaluation Sciences branch, NESB we call it, had a background in medical ultrasound, although their primary work at the time was advanced materials for new aircraft or aging aircraft materials, finding flaws in structural materials, but they were open to this problem, and so a collaboration began between the Naval Dental School and NASA Langley Research Center. And then in the 90s, the mid-90s, NASA Langley reorganized, and the branch where this was happening got moved from Instrument Research Division to Materials Division. The new Materials Division, Charlie Harris said, what the hell is this dental stuff doing in my division? We don't do that. We do aircraft and aerospace materials. Get it the hell out of there. And so my patron, who had just moved from the branch chief up to the deputy head of tech transfer, called me up and said, Mark, we want this work to continue. We want it to be one of our NASA spin-off success stories. Is it okay if we move John Companion, who's been working on this, to William & Mary along with all of his equipment, and we'll give you some funding to get started because we want this to push forward and solve real problems in the real world here on Earth. I'm like, okay, that sounds very interesting. I don't really know much about it, but I can learn.
Have developed an instrument that will help keep periodontal disease, which is the leading cause of tooth loss in adults, in check. This technology was originally designed to help detect cracks in airplanes, but is now currently being used to design and manufacture a revolutionary dental instrument called the Ultrasonographic Periodontal Probe.
The technology that's in the probe is ultrasonics. These are the sound waves that we use to probe inside materials, such as the aircraft wings. Ultrasonics is very high-frequency sound. We at NASA use high-frequency sound to actually look inside materials. We like to be able to assess the health of a material, just like a physician would assess the health of a person.
We started working on this in the mid-90s. And in the early days, we were doing tests on phantoms and cadaver jaws. And John Companion's very talented gadgeteer, he was building devices and testing them. And down here is one of his early devices.
A probe that uses ultrasound waves to detect gum disease.
Ultrasound is a very favored way of doing things by doctors. It works, it doesn't hurt, you don't feel anything, there's no bad side effects.
And then we very quickly figured out that ultrasound doesn't really make sense to do on cadaver jaws and things like that. So instead we switched over to human patient studies, and the middle probe here is the first handpiece that we built here in-house to do human patient studies. And we did a bunch of tests in collaboration with Gail McCombs and her colleagues at the graduate program in dental hygiene at Old Dominion University near here. And we did a revision of the hardware and started to figure out how difficult the problem was. We got good feedback from clinicians on how things were to use. And so then about 2000, we did another revision of the hardware. The top handpiece here that looks like this, this we built with feedback from using it clinically with clinicians. We put together this system, this lunchbox computer, and then a container, a little case to hold the electronics and the foot pedals and things like that. And we put this together summer of 2001 so that we could go to remote sites and do clinical tests, which we did. We did a few of those in summer of 2001. And the reason we packaged it this way is this could go onto an airplane as carry-on luggage, so we could go to places we couldn't drive through. That made good sense in the summer of 2001. You know, after 9/11, there's no way in hell we'd be able to take things like this through airport security. A few years later, with funding from a large dental company, we did another revision of the hardware, and instead of the now then giant lunchbox computer, we packaged everything down into that would fit with just a regular tablet or laptop computer. Here's an ultrasound device from those days, both the pulsar receiver and the A to D, and a separate little interface box that connects the foot pedal to the computer and the water flow and the handpiece, and got that ready to go out and collect a bunch of data. We had figured out along the way how this was going to work, how we were going to analyze the signals. And the technique that James Hu developed is called wavelet fingerprints, where we take the time domain echoes that come back. Remember, we want to identify a particular part of that signal, and time delay is going to tell us the depth of the anatomy. And James's idea was to take the time domain signal, do a wavelet transform on it, and display it as a little fingerprint image, and then look for shapes in those that tell us which little echo corresponds to the anatomy that we care about. The traditional ultrasound way of gating and peak detecting doesn't work here at all because the echoes that you care about are so subtle. It's a soft tissue interface, soft tissue of the gums reflecting from the soft tissue of the ligament, so it's very subtle. It takes very sophisticated signal processing to identify that. Or in a modern language, it takes machine learning, and it takes a large data set in order to do that machine learning. You need training data. The other part that's interesting about this technically is the little pokey probe that's stuck down in there. The way that works is it has a scale on it in millimeters, and you put it down into the gums and feel for it, how deep it goes, and read that off in millimeters. That measurement, that periodontal probing it's called, is accurate to plus or minus a millimeter or so on a good day. So we're trying to develop a much more accurate, much more sensitive method of detecting gum disease, but the gold standard is less accurate than the one that we're developing. So that creates interesting machine learning challenges to do that. Fundamental challenge, though, is that you need data. And so over the years, we've put together the kind of portable and really portable systems that we can go out and collect data. We've done some of this. It's been sort of fits and starts. We don't have a dental school here at William & Mary, so we do these kind of clinical work through external collaborations. And this one has been a little frustrating when a series of collaborators who were going to arrange the clinical sites never quite got us the number of patients that we needed to develop the machine learning. We got the preliminary results, we got the signal processing scheme all worked out. Still more work to do because we have to go collect the data and do the machine learning. So far so good, but that systematic work is yet to be done. Fun fact, George Washington was William & Mary's first American chancellor. He also got a surveyor's license at the college, so we count him as an alum. I'm Professor Mark Hinders, Applied Science Department at William & Mary, as.wm.edu. Don't forget to floss.